And welcome back to ABC News Live. Reports tomorrow is Game 1 of the 2025 Stanley Cup Final, an epic rematch. The Florida Panthers will face off against the Edmonton Oilers for the second year in a row. The Panthers beat the Oilers last year, securing their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. So to give us a preview on this hotly anticipated rematch, I want to bring in defending champion and Florida Panthers center Evan Rodrigues. Evan, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. I do want to ask you a bit of a personal question. One of my favorite things in reading about you is how your game is centered on assists, right? You even set a record in doing that as you approach the Stanley Cup Final. Tell me about what kind of teammate you are and what kind of team allows you to have that success.
Yeah, starting with me, I think, just a guy who tries to complement, who he plays with, right? I've played with, multiple guys this year, and everybody has, different things that make them successful, and I just try to benefit that. And when you look at our team, I think it's, we're very unique in the fact that every guy, only cares about winning, right? We don't, we don't worry about points or goals or who's doing what. At the end of the day, if we get our wins, and then we're happy, and we'll look to continue that this series.
Yeah, always a humble leader you are. Look, you guys are no stranger to the Stanley Cup Final, right? You're making your third trip in a row. How do you lean on the vets that know the drill and also, the excitement from the new guys and mesh it together?
Yeah, I think we're just a little bit more comfortable. It can be a roller coaster during the playoffs. There's a lot of highs and you feel the lows even more. And I think we've just, we've become really good at being level-headed. You look at Game 5 against Carolina, we go down 2-0, and I don't think there was any panic in any one of our games. And, we stick to what makes us successful. And, usually at the end of the day that helps us win. And that's what we'll look to do this year. And then, when you have guys, that we acquired at the deadline, maybe who haven't won, they always add an extra little jolt of energy, and brought in, a couple characters too at the deadline. It's just giving us a little boost, and sometimes that's all it takes, right? That's all you need, and we've had good success so far, but we still have a big job to do.
Yeah, I can see you're smiling there. A little spark here from these newest additions. Okay, my favorite thing about the Stanley Cup Final is that this tradition, right, of when the cup finally enters the building. It's only in the building when it can be won. I see the picture there behind you. Tell me about the different kind of energy on the ice when the cup is in the building.
Yeah, I think when you see it, it brings, a flood of emotion, right? It brings you, it could bring you all the way back to when you were a young kid and playing street hockey, and, your thoughts of winning the Stanley Cup, and you finally make the NHL, and, it's always a dream of yours, but you never really, sometimes you don't believe it's going to happen, but then, when you see it and it's right there and you're so close, I don't know if you get, I don't know if it's butterflies or jitters, but just you get a wave of emotion that, for me, the way it comes out is I always, I'm just smiling, and you can't break the smile, and it's pure excitement. And, I think going back to last year, the elation and joy that comes with winning it is, it's starting to flood back in. Memories are starting to come back in, and you go through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, and it's just kind of day by day basis, and you're looking to win. But now that we're here, all the emotions are starting to come back, and you want to have that feeling again.
Good for you. You mentioned playing street hockey as a kid. You're now in your 10th season, though, in the NHL. Stanley Cup on the line again. As you look back on your career, you think you'd be here?
I want to say no. You get to a point where, for me, before I came to Florida, I never, won a round in the playoffs. Never advanced to the second round. And so, there's always hope. There's always, a desire. And But you almost, you know, you get used to not being there, and I'd say as my career went on, it becomes less and less likely. Um, but now being in Florida, winning last year, it's like a whole new reinvigoration, and like I said, you want that feeling again, and I think every guy will be putting their best foot forward to get that.
And I mean, Florida hockey is on the map, no question about that. Evan Rodrigues, thank you for spending some time with us, and good luck.
Thank you very much.